Phil.
Hi Tom, how you doing, mate?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm all right, not too bad, thank you. Did you have a good weekend?
Yeah, it was actually. It was quite nice.
Good.
Yeah. How about you?
Yeah, all right. Yeah, same. Nice, just chilled. So, do you still record these, Tom? Are you still trialing that?
Yeah. I mean, and I've hit the record already.
Yeah.
So
So
just
you've
because,
got the
yeah,
so
yeah,
there won't be all that cut off and stuff.
exactly. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Great, great
As
stuff.
soon as we launch, I'll just remind me to mention that. Although I think people are pretty relaxed about it now.
I don't know anybody who isn't. It just
Yeah,
means they tend to keep the cameras off, doesn't it?
yeah. Yeah, interesting to see how this goes today. I think so. You're going to do an intro to Mike from Liverpool, is that right?
As far as I'm concerned, it's Mike and Pete. I think the,
Cool.
the message I had from. Can you hear me through my headphones, all right?
Yeah, yeah.
I think the message I had from Pete was he was going to speak, and then Mike's back from leave, obviously, today. So I'm taking it that they're both going to talk a little bit.
Great.
And then after they've done their bit, I will just very quickly go through the slide that, just to try and show people that LPAs from across the country come and that, you might want to come to the next one. And that leads me on to next one is open and that's that. And then I'll hand back to you to crack on with the rest.
Very good.
Good result from Sophie. It's always good to use her. I think to just Gmail along. I think it just depends what he's looking at the time. I mean, I couldn't believe it on Friday when he replied to me within half an hour to say, yeah, give and then other times.
I've definitely got FOMO. Yeah. And it's like I only knew he was here because his bag was set up on the big table. And then it was only like 10 minutes ago. I figured out where he was. He's gone straight into one of those little booths. He's a big bloke.
Just working. You must be squashed in there. Even I'd feel squashed, I think, and claustrophobic.
I know. Yeah.
Right, we're getting a busy lobby, Tom. Do you want me to do the honours with the lobby?
Please. Yeah, and
we'll sort all that out. And we'll give it a minute or two to get people through. Hello, Stanley. By the way, you all right?
Hey, Stanley. Hope he's not wearing that fleece today.
I hope not. Way too hot. Hi. Right, okay. I'm going to get people through the lobby then, Tom.
Great stuff. Let's go. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to our July ODP General Meeting. Phil is very kindly doing the door. Quick bag check. Make sure you haven't tried to sneak in any Alco Pops or anything like that. Flashback to doing the team disco there.
Yeah. Was it Hooch, Lemon Hooch?
Yes, that was very popular, as I recall. Yeah.
Yeah.
We're all very sober today, I'm sure.
Yeah, good afternoon, everyone. So we're just going to give it a couple of minutes. It is only 1 o'clock spot on, so we'll just give people a couple of minutes to come through the lobby before we get underway.
I was just looking at that meeting that we had, this photo from Lambeth, like that was our winter meeting. Look how
it was December, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Something like the 10th of December, I think.
Yeah, great photo. We should update it with the Liverpool one. I should do that. Apologies.
We will do.
Yeah. That's to do.
I can see Pete's joined. Pete from Liverpool, who's one of our first speakers, and is Mike on as well? I haven't got as far down. Let's have a look. We've got Pete and Mike on the call.
Yeah, Mike said he was joining, so
yeah.
Mike's here.
Oh, he's there.
Fabulous. Yeah. Yes, great. Thank you both. Okay, well, we'll get underway in just a couple of minutes. Yeah. Lobby's starting to slow down a little bit, I think, Tom.
Yeah. How many have we got now?
But,
Yep. Another 30 seconds and then I think we'll get going.
yeah, sounds good.
Great stuff. Well, good afternoon, everyone. I am Tom Mounts, and welcome to Open Digital Planning General Meeting. I think, Phil, can you go on? I think it's your mute. Yeah, that's it. Lovely stuff. Thanks, Phil. So, without further ado, let us crack on. So what is this? It's our monthly Open Digital Planning General Meeting. Who's here? All sorts of people. All the ODP LPAs are invited, delivery partners. It's an opportunity for updates, sharing things that are going on in the program across the ODP world, showcasing work that we're doing, and sometimes we bring in speakers from slightly outside our group, but within our friendship circle. And we've got a great one today. It's recorded. This is recorded right now, but we'll put this on the hub once I've stitched everyone's slides together, because there'll be a few people taking over. Feel free to put any comments, questions into the chat as we go. Phil will work with me on keeping that up to date. So what we're doing today, we're going to go through the amazing event that was in Liverpool. Sadly, I couldn't get to, but Phil will do a quick intro, I think, to Mike and Pete. Then we've got a great little section from Department for Energy Security and Net Zero, which is going to be Maddie. Then we're going over to Alphie, who's going to give us a PropTech R6 update. Then over to Paris, if only literally Paris, but no, we're staying here, but it's around helping you provide data. Then we're going to do a little update from BOPS with Andrew Holmes, and then I'm going to do a request from our colleagues in the Planning Inspectorate in the style of like a sofa delivery style terms and conditions. I'll try and add some life to it, but there we go. So Phil, did you want to do an intro to Pete and Mike?
Yeah, certainly can do. Thanks, Tom. Yeah, good afternoon, everybody. So for those of you that joined us in Liverpool on the 4th of June, you're already very familiar with Pete and Mike from Liverpool City Council, who did a fantastic job of organising the venue, the day, and Pete was our MC for the day as well. So we were trying out something new, and it worked out really well from our point of view as well, and the feedback confirms that. So it's great having Pete and Mike be so hands-on. What we thought we would do today, for the benefit of you that couldn't make Liverpool, unfortunately, we thought we'd just give you, sort of a 5-minute update about what the day covered. So I'm going to hand over to Pete and Mike, who are just going to do a little bit of reflecting and telling us what happened on the day.
Should I
Thanks,
stop
Pete.
sharing screen so we can see your lovely faces? Yeah, you're all right.
We
right
can
like
see.
this?
We can see. Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Go for it.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think people have seen enough of my face anyway. So, yeah. So yeah, as Phil said, we hosted the spring summer event in Liverpool on the 4th of June, and I think it was very well attended. I think it was towards 140 people from about 59 different authorities. So yeah, it was a really good turnout. We did start the day with a showcase of Liverpool, as is the theme of these events, the hosting authority. And I think we did quite a good job of showcasing the city. We focused on, because of quite a bit of the heritage of the city, the cultural, the music, as well as some of the more practical things that Liverpool have done around digital planning. Mike did quite a bit of that, the second half of the presentation, with when we actually got one of our apprentices who was keen to take part in the day, and that was really good for him. I think the day before he'd sort of done his rehearsal, and then his actual day speech was nothing like what he'd planned the day before. It was much more sort of off the cuff, and I think he had a bit of humour about him as well. So yeah, and then after that we did, well, different type of icebreaker to what we've had in the past. We had a musical theme, and that was based around songs written and performed by Liverpool artists. So it was sort of semi-interactive, and one or two people did join in and sing when we played the answers. So after that, it was sort of onto the business part of the day, if you like. And yeah, we had some really interesting speakers. Mike, do you want to say anything at this point?
Yeah, I think in terms of like, I mean, obviously, the speakers that we had were, like you say, dead interesting, especially the extract tool. I know for myself, who ended up like updating a lot of our planning data in the last year or so, that would have been very useful for me about 12 to 18 months ago. So all the sort of new people that are on the in the ODP now, they'll be able to make use of that for the TPOs and their Article 4s and that. So that would be a great help for them. Like I say, it would have been a great help for me, but there you go.
Yeah, and on that, because I think it was the official launch that day, wasn't it, for Extract, and they did a fairly sort of lengthy presentation, and also had a big breakout room over lunch. And the feedback I got from some people who I chatted to had said that was like really useful, and that they'd already signed up to be part of the program. So I think if you haven't seen much about Extract, I'd recommend you take a look at the slides, get in touch, with Phil, Tom, or whoever. And if you've got the work to on the planning data, as Mike said, it's like a really, really good tool. I think that was sort of the big highlight presentation of the day. We had a couple of sort of short introductions to the afternoon sessions, which they did in the morning, and that was largely around sort of building control, and that was with Jude. They did the soft launch of the modern digital planning software, and that was run by Raphael and Matt Woodhill, and also the plan making service map from Carol. So they were then a brief introduction to them, their highlights, and then in the afternoon they ran workshops around them, and I think there's been some information more circulated based on those workshops, which were like really, really well attended. And that was one thing I did notice on the day, that the format, and that people generally tended to stay right until the end. It was good. So that was good. We had a couple of sort of obviously the presentation from Extract. We had a couple then just before lunch about digital twins, and that was to do with Liverpool University. And then we had a chat from Richard Crawley from PAS about digital fees and the fee setting, which is local fee setting, which is going to be introduced for planning services from April next year. And they also ran workshops over lunchtime, which were really good, the stalls. And we had Kira and Abby from working with Coventry on the FME stalls, which I think were quite popular again over lunch. What else did we do? So we actually had the usual ODP update, which Matt did, because I say unfortunately Tom was unable to be there, and he was very sorely missed. And then there was a session on the planning pipeline alpha launch from Greater Manchester, which again, I think all the slides on that are available, aren't they? And then we broke out into working sessions, and then sort of the feedback, and then the launch of the ODP camp, which is in Norwich, October the 8th. Is that right? Was it the 9th?
October the 7th. Yeah.
The 7th. Oh, yeah. Well, if I come on the 8th, I'll be too late, won't I? So I'll have
you will have just missed it.
But I think Phil had sort of asked me as well just to comment, and maybe Mike could like say something as well on actually hosting the day. I mean, I would say to authorities, if you're interested in doing it, it's a really, really good thing to do. You get loads and loads of help, from particularly around, from Phil, Tom, and Josh, who obviously is off at the minute. But yeah, I think we worked collaboratively very well with them. They we kept them informed what we were doing. We devised the agenda together. There's obviously some parts that the ODP, want to include as standard, and then we help shape the rest of the agenda with things that we knew people were interested in. In terms of the actual hosting of it, I mean, personally, I really enjoyed it, and I think it was nice because it was in Liverpool for us to be able to say, we're hosting this and doing the MC. But I think that's not a prerequisite. If you want to host an event, I don't think you're going to be forced into doing it if it's not something that you're comfortable with. But obviously, Tom and Phil will know more about that. Don't know, Mike, do you have anything more to say about the event?
I just think, well, for myself, I'd never been involved in like organising an event like that before. So it was just really interesting to do for myself, especially for the first month in January when Pete was off on unplanned leave. And then it was left to me to sort of like pick a venue and pick the food and all stuff like that. So I deliberately went for the venue closest to our office.
And you did pick a very good menu for the buffet.
Oh, thank you. It was very nice, actually. Not that I cooked it myself. I don't know why I'm saying. But yeah, for myself, it was just dead interesting, and we got loads of support from like Phil and Josh, and it wasn't like, I don't know, at first, I thought especially that it might be like sort of like overwhelming having to do everything yourself, but now we got loads of support from Phil and Josh, and they, led on the agenda, so to speak. And it was just good to like, I don't know, I think like the last few years we've been doing our sort of digital work that's been now, funded, like all the different things we've done. And it's just good to show off, well, or like tell people what you've done. I think it's good just for like, because the event was so well attended, especially by people who were new to the ODP, so it might have been the first event. Obviously, it was good for them just to, everyone just to get in the same room and see what everyone's been doing, and the sort of, I don't know, like the best ways of cleaning your data, or in my case, telling people the worst ways of doing it and what to avoid. So hopefully it was all helpful for, other people that were there as well.
No, it was. Thank you very much, Pete and Mike. Yeah, it was a great event, and I echo what you've both said. Very collaborative. I think we worked really well together. Certainly from Josh and my point of view, we couldn't have shaped the day without you. You really came up with some great ideas of what we should have on the agenda. And as for the venue, I mean, for anyone that was there, it spoke for itself. Fantastic Merseyside front location, really nice collaborative space, plenty of daylight coming in, and great lunch. So what more could we have wanted from the venue? So, thank you. And and as you've said, Pete, for anyone thinking about getting in touch and would maybe like to host an event in the future, there is no set prerequisite on how the day has to work. If you're not so keen to MC and sort of chair it all, you don't have to, although there might be others in your organisation who do. So if you're interested, get in touch, have a word with Josh, myself or Tom. And if you're in any doubt, obviously drop Pete and Mike a line, who may say something a little bit more different from what they might say in front of everybody with us here. But can I just, before we move on, just say again a massive thanks to you both and to the rest of the council for hosting us. Feedback has been really, really positive. It's our second biggest event to date with, as you say, Pete, I think we ended up with over 140 people. So a massive thank you to you and the rest of your authority for hosting us. It was a fantastic day.
And thank you to you for the opportunity to do it. It was, as I said, and if anyone does have any questions, Mike and I are always happy to answer those for you.
Thank you. Just moving on, I just wanted to also reflect and picking up what Pete was saying. So 59 LPAs in attendance, and I just wanted to share this map with everybody just to show the effort that people put into travelling. We want to cover the whole of the country. We don't want everything to always be just in London. We have done our last couple of events up in the northwest, obviously Keswick in the spring. Just so happened it fell with Liverpool. But as you can see from this map, great attendance from all regions across the country. Our next event is in Norwich, so we were really keen to move over into the east of England and not forget our colleagues in East Anglia. And then our winter event is in Blarby in Leicestershire. But we're really keen to get events populated for next year, looking to, as I say, go into other regions, so into the Midlands and below. So if you're sort of in the southwest or other parts of the country, such as right down on the south coast, get in touch. We'd love to see what we could do about potentially hosting event in 2027. And then finally, just to pick up on the next event, so that is, as we've said, ODP Camp in Norwich, the 7th of October. ODP Camp is where we go even bigger, more spaces available, and probably a bit more sort of networking, maybe not as heavy on the agenda as some of the events, but lots of group working activities already, putting, I think, a good plan together for what that day will be like, working with Greater Norwich Development Partnership. But these events are put on for you at LPAs. So if you've got any ideas or anything you'd like to see on the agenda, do get in touch with me, Tom, or Josh as well. We would love to hear what you might like to see on that day while we're planning it. You've got the QR code to register. Places are filling up, as you would expect, and I've just popped into the chat as well, or just about to, the form which you can also use and fill in the request to join us on that day if you so wish. So yeah, look forward to seeing you at the next event, 7th of October. Thanks everybody, and back to you, Tom.
Thanks, Phil. Cracking on. Maddie, are you there?
Hi, I am. I'm just, can you see me?
Yes. Good
No,
morning. Good
great.
afternoon, even. Yes, you call it out. I shall move the slides in a carefully choreographed fashion.
Great, thank you so much. Hi everyone. Thank you very much for having me at your ODP general meeting today. Really excited to be here and speak to you all. So I'm Maddie. I work in the onshore wind team at DESNZ, and I work in the planning side of the team. And I'm here today to discuss a proposal for a data tool to support local planning authorities to identify suitable sites for development and to assess suitability of applications. Can we switch on to the next slide if that's okay? Thank you. So this is in its very early scoping phases. So I'd like to just talk you through the proposal, give you a bit of background and context to where this has come from. And it would be really useful to understand today if this sounds useful, if you think this will save you time and resource. And I have a very quick survey to capture thoughts at the end, which I can put in the chat, and it will also be on the last slide as well. So we could just go on to the next one, please. So I'll just give you a bit of background and context to where this came from. So as I mentioned, I'm in the onshore wind team at DESNZ. So this started as an action to explore within the onshore wind strategy. So the strategy was published in July 2025 to accelerate the deployment of onshore wind in England following the lift of the ban in 2024. So this action was to scope a tool to support site selection, proactive planning and upskilling, considering many LPAs may not have seen an onshore wind application in over a decade due to the ban. So I thought there was an opportunity to explore developing the tool through the Civil Service AI and Data Challenge in November last year. So I submitted this as an idea, but I decided that it could potentially be more wide-ranging than just onshore wind and potentially cover different types of development, like other renewable technologies, housing, and so on. And the idea behind this was that it could then possibly be used to support local plan development as well, as LPAs can assess trade-offs of different development types in the area and optimise land use beyond purely onshore wind. This was very well received in the challenge and progressed through to the quarterfinals and was on the reserve list for the semi-finals. So it came 9th, and there were 8 final ideas, which is a shame. But this was narrowed down from around 250 applications. So it did really well and had very positive feedback from the judges, but ultimately didn't win. But I would really like to continue looking into developing the tool outside of the challenge. So I'm currently trying to understand if there is a case for developing the tool, is there demand, what this should look like and include, and exploring routes to developing as well. So if we just go on to the next one, please. So how would the tool work? So the basis of this tool is a GIS mapping system, which holds data on what is there. So if there's special protected sites, heritage sites, sites of special scientific interest, grid access, wind speeds, as something like the planning data platform that is already compiling a lot of this data could be used as the base for this. And then the idea is there would be an interpretive layer. So this would take planning policy, guidance documents, suitability criteria, and then identify optimal locations for different development types. So it would basically look at the GIS map and interpret based on set constraints and criteria which sites are suitable for different developments. So it basically does the analysis of the base map. And then the output would be an interactive map showing zones or areas that are suitable for different development types and provide rationale behind that as well. The idea is that it would also have functionality to input a planning application into when it comes in, and using the map and the underlying data, it could assess suitability using the constraints and criteria that are already inputted to kind of support planning determinations as well. So this might flag risks, opportunities, where further information or surveys might be needed from the developer, and provide an initial kind of suitability score for the application. There could also be an AI assistant to explain outputs, answer any questions. But basically, depending on the level of ambition and cost and what functionalities you would find useful in this tool, this might look slightly different. So it could be anything from 1 to all of these blue boxes. So for example, in its most basic form, it might just be the map base layer, which could be interpreted manually. But if that would be significantly less useful, it would be good to kind of understand and know what a useful product would look like and what functionality you would like to see. And it would be good to know as well if there's any functionality that I've not included here that you would potentially find useful as we go through this scoping phase. But the main purpose and benefits of doing this would be to support proactive planning, reduce resource and cost burden on LPAs, support upskilling and technical understanding, and hope to reduce the back and forth between yourselves and developers as well. So if we could go on to the next slide, please. Thank you. So to bring this to life a little bit, I made a prototype to give an idea of how this could potentially work. And this is using all publicly available data. And I actually used the planning data platform to underpin this. So I've just taken some screenshots of the tool. So I selected Cambridge as the LPA as an example. It applies the LPA boundary, and I selected onshore wind and solar. And it kind of evaluates suitability of each in that area. So it's pulled out wind speeds, alignment with planning policy frameworks, and so on. You can see on the right-hand side, it provides some rationale in the chat, and then you can engage with that and ask follow-up questions. And if we go on to the next slide. Thank you. So if I select housing as well, it's now considering the trade-offs between 3. So it's now including considerations like access to services, the fact that it's already near built-up areas as well. But this is just a very early prototype and would need properly building out and optimizing. It's just to kind of bring this to life a little bit. And then going on to the final slide, it would be really great to hear your thoughts, any feedback on this proposal, if this would be useful, what kind of functionality you'd like to see, and very happy to take any questions as well. And very quickly in terms of next steps, depending on the survey feedback and feedback today, If it's positive, this will help support the case to develop this. And if so, I'll keep ODP updated, and there'll be opportunities to feed into shaping the product and be part of potential pilots as well. So if you are open to that, please do flag. But I will stop there.
That's great. Thank you, Maddie. Really very interesting. Won't have time for conversations and questions now, but I'll put the link in the chat. We've got a Slack channel where we'll share this and promote this. So super interesting. We will speak to you again, I'm sure. Great. Thank you, Maddie. On to PropTech. Alphie, are you there?
Yeah, good afternoon, Tom. And I know I want to be first in line to speak to Maddie. That looked really interesting. But moving on, I am here to talk about round 6. For those of you that haven't met me before, I'm Alphie Murphy O'Reilly. I sit in the PropTech team in the digital planning program. I'm going to give you a quick update on round 6, which some of you may remember we discussed at Lake District, and I've got some great winners we can talk about. So next slide, please, Tom. Thank you. So as a brief recap, and I do apologise for those of you that have seen this before, but we have £2.4 million that we can spend on this round. We did extensive research to try and work out what the challenge statements should be. We decided on 2 different challenge statements, which generated an awful lot of interest from LPAs and PropTechs. We had over 200 expressions of interest on a matchmaking event that we did, which some of you may have come along to. The challenge statements themselves, one is focusing on plan making. So how can we have scalable digital approaches that help align evidence and policies across different plan making boundaries and tiers? And the second one looking at Section 106. So how can digital interventions reduce delays caused by Section 106 negotiations, including viability, to accelerate local authority decision making on applications? Next slide, please, Tom. Thank you. So we had some fantastic applications come through, over 35. And I'm really pleased to say that we had a lot of fantastic judges. So a big thing that we've tried to consider when we're doing this round is how can we sort of make sure that this is scalable? How can we make sure that it works in real life? And a big part of that process has been making sure that we have some really big stakeholders look at the applications before they even make it through to the final. So are these ideas embedded in the reality of the situation? Do we think this is how LPAs actually work? Are these solutions well developed already? Do they just need a little bit of tweaking so they can meet our goal of being deployed at the start of next year? And you'll see some of the brilliant logos that we had involved. So we've got RTPI, we've got PAS, we had PINs, Geovation. So all trying to sense check that we were getting the right ideas in front of the right people. Next slide, please. Thank you. So as I mentioned, we had 35 applications, which represented 110 plus companies, LPAs and partners. So again, as a reminder, we were looking for consortiums. So we didn't want just a PropTech who thought they knew what they were doing. We wanted an LPA attached to this project. So there was a place that they could test it with, that they could co-design it with, and make sure that they were getting it right. We also wanted a second LPA attached. So recognizing that you guys work in different ways, how can we make sure that it isn't too tailored and too specific to one LPA? We can have a second one lined up to test it and say, yes, these are some of the common things that we do. You need to tweak this, you need to change that. So really trying to chip away at that sort of scalability issue that we've seen previously. After all that wonderful judging, and as you can see, some of the fantastic logos that were associated with the shortlisting that we did, we were delighted to have 11 pilots in the final, which has got over 82% outside of London, Southeast. So really trying to represent lots of different parts of the country, and over 40 organisations attached to these consortiums as well. Next slide, please, Tom. Thank you. So with those 11 pilots comes 28 authorities, so lots of different test beds, lots of different places that can speak to each other, make sure that we're getting this right. And I really would invite you guys to speak to them as well. If some of those challenge statements resonated with you, you know, they are going to be part of the ODP community, so they are there to chat to, as am I, as are the PropTechs. We really want to sense check the work we're doing and make sure we're getting this right. So I'll give you guys a moment just to take a look at some of these logos, but these are the winners that we have at the moment. I won't sit and read them all out, but lots of exciting names on that list. And as I said, we had different policy teams involved in the judging, but it doesn't stop there. We really need to keep a feedback loop going in. So we know that policies change. We know that stuff like the MPPF is down the line. We've got lots of change and things going on in the planning world. So we want to keep touching base with people. We want to make sure the likes of PINs are involved in this work and that they're happy, particularly with Challenge Statement 1. So we really want to embed this in MHCLG wherever we can, and not just in the digital planning programme. So we recognise that there's only so many LPAs that we can take forward in this process, and there was obviously a considerable amount of interest that was involved in this round. So we are starting to consider what we can do for the other LPAs that applied that perhaps weren't successful. There's obviously a lot of appetite to do things in a more digital way, and we want to support that wherever we can. So if you get an email from me sort of asking a few questions or understanding if you're happy for us to put your ideas in front of other teams, please do engage with the process if you're interested, or get in touch if you still want to do things. We are trying to find ways of keeping you all close. And finally, we will have our first show and tell in September. So we'll let these guys crack on for a few months, get the summer holidays done, and then we would really love for you all to join us in the first public show and tell. So I will circulate the details in due course. Thank you. Cheers, Tom.
Lovely stuff. Thank you, Alphie. Yes, and many logos. We could do a separate show and tell on that. Cracking on. Paris, are you there? And shall I stop sharing my screen so you can take over?
And yes, if that's okay.
It's yours.
Perfect. So happy to be here to speak to so many of you. I've got a few updates. I think, Tom, you originally had this section as a date with data, which is really cool, because I think it is going to be a bit of a speed date, whistle-stop tour of things that have been going on. For those who don't know me or haven't seen me pop up at some point, I'm Paris. I'm the service designer in the team that looks after check and provide your planning data. So I just wanted to kind of have a whistle-stop tour of things that have been going on. So I'll share my screen, and do bear with, because live demos always have a way of not going to plan. So the first thing I wanted to mention, for those of you that don't know, if you are doing your new local plan, we now support you in doing that through check and provide. So there will be local plan and plan timetable. They will show on your dashboard, and they'll show as not from an authoritative source, which means simply it's public data that's been available elsewhere, and this is being collated. So it's being collated into a file that you can download. So as well as the kind of data that's available elsewhere or might be as part of your previous local plans, we've also made some rows for you to simply fill in for the new local plan. So just to try and support you in making this easier. So it'll be a spreadsheet with kind of rows that you can fill in. For the timetable one, if there are kind of optional fields that aren't relevant to you at that moment in time, you can just remove them and then come back here, check and provide that file, and follow the process through. So I just wanted to mention that in case anybody wasn't aware, that this will help you to prepare that file. And if you wanted to find the guidance on it, there's the link here, how to prepare and provide your local plan, which will take you to the guidance. That was the first one. The second thing is, we have had previously some feedback that in particular circumstances, it's not possible for local plan authorities to match exactly the headings that are set out in the ODP datasets. Any that are required by law, so things like Bradfield Land local plans, you would need to provide the headings as is, because that's part of the law itself. But if there are circumstances in which you are really struggling, and we'd always recommend you do your field headings the same as what's in the specification, but if you can't because they're already in kind of workflows and things like that, we've built into the kind of check tool now that you can map your field. So if I go to find a file, There's now a map your fields option, which will tell you what we've been able to map automatically if they're not all matching. If they are all matching and we've been able to map them, you won't see this in your workflow. So don't worry if you don't see this when you're checking and providing data. But if you do and you really can't match the heading for whatever reason, it might be reference. You might think, oh, we call that ID instead. So I'm going to call that ID. Notes, I've not provided that. You can then recheck with those mappings, and it'll make sure that we're checking the right specification against the right data. And then you'll get a little bit of a kind of update as to what you've mapped. And there might still be things that you can fix in future, which is absolutely fine as well. I'll pause at that point to see if there are any specific questions about that. No. Okay, that's fine. And the last thing is just a really quick thing that we've done. We found that sometimes if people were updating their data at source and then they were going through check and provide, there was an assumption that maybe because it hadn't updated immediately on our system that they needed to provide that again. So people were resubmitting endpoint URLs that had already been submitted to us, which is just frustrating for you guys to not know what's going on. So now, for example, here, if we were to try and submit this same link, we'll still let you check it in case you've changed anything at source, and you wanted to just check how that meets the specification. So that will still go through. But if you try to then continue through to provide it to us, you'll get a message just say, we've already collecting data from here. We will kind of collect it from there and you don't need to do anything. It just prevents you from kind of having a Jira ticket open for something that you've already submitted and any sort of back and forth from there. So we're just trying to build in these kind of error messages at the right point so you know what to do and when. So I hope that has been a bit of a whistle stop, but I hope those are all useful things to sort of digest and take away from this session.
That's
and the demo worked, which is good.
Of course it worked. Total confidence. That's great. Thanks, Paris. We've got another section to get through. So any questions, we've got our Slack channel, help data support. Just pop your questions in there. That's the best place.
Yeah, we're always looking. We'll see them.
Always looking. Nice. Thanks, Paris. So final section, which a little update on back office planning system. Is that Andrew? You there, Andrew? And you happy to take over the screen?
Yeah, hi Tom. Hi everyone.
Right.
Hope everyone's not too tired after yesterday. I know I'm a little bit tired, but I'm not going to moan too much about it because of the results. So what a game it was. Anyway, so look, I'm just here to give us a little bit of a rundown on some of the things we've been working on at Gateshead. And Charlie asked us just to give a bit of a perspective on launching the ODP stack, what we do use using Plan X for, and just a little bit about how we've kind of tried to drive innovation internally within our services. Is that presentation coming through for everyone?
Not yet.
Right. 1 second, Tom. It's the only problem with Teams and PowerPoint.
Yeah, so I go up to that share icon on top right, and then it should give you a list of decks.
There we go.
Looking lively. Here we go.
Fantastic. Right. Brilliant. Right. So Gateshead, don't know what you'll know about Gateshead, so I thought I'd give you a bit of a rundown. So Gateshead, of course, we're on the south side of the River Tyne, Newcastle being our neighbours, linked by the Tyne Bridge and the High Level Bridge, which is one of the earliest examples of railway bridges anywhere in the world. Gateshead is the home of the world's first house lit by the electric light bulb, Joseph Swan. So if you imagine that was the first house lit by the electric light bulb in the world, that's in Gateshead. And then in the picture at the bottom, there's the Anthony Gormley Angel of the North statue. So Gateshead's got a strong track record of delivering lots of regeneration linked to quite significant kind of art installations and other projects such as the Angel of the North, and other regeneration things like what happened on the quayside with the world's first of its type, this kind of bridge, which is the Millennium Bridge, which a lot of you will know. You'll see the Time Bridge in the background, and then that in the background is the Sage Gateshead, which is it's a concert hall designed by Norman Foster, architect. Obviously, did the Gherkin and lots of other really famous buildings across the world. So just wanted to give us a bit of a rundown on Gateshead, who we are, what we're about, where we are at, for everyone on the call. Okay, right. So what we've achieved so far. I thought it was important for us just to start out by just talking for a bit about our ODP journey. So obviously critical to all of these things that we've been able to do has been having that funding to obviously digitize our data sets, and things like the extract tool are only going to absolutely speed up people's journeys and pathways to getting there. But for us, the funding was absolutely critical to bring in the right people to be able to update our data, allowing us to publish, conservation areas, TPOs, listed buildings, Article 4s, brownfield land stuff as well, and it's led us to be able to do other things, quite complementary tools, such as now we have an Esri GIS tool where we have our TPO data set published with some more kind of detailed information about the TPO trees, which we couldn't have launched or wouldn't have been able to create without the work that had already gone into updating the TPOs funded through the Open Digital Planning Programme. And that's launched, and it's kind of been a real kind of game changer for our arborists in terms of being able to find out and people self-serve in terms of getting tree information. So we launched the Check If You Need service back in May 24, and that's been fantastically well received. We've got some really great feedback. We've got a case study on the ODP website if anyone wants to go on there, and you'll see in the case studies section about how we got there with that process. We're using PlanX as a report a breach tool for our enforcement team. Brilliance PlanX, of course, is that when someone drops in to report the breach, it identifies the constraints on that property or site. It allows people, if they want to check if planning permission would be required before they even make that report. But also, of course, for the planning enforcement team, it gives them a package of information to help them triage inquiries, because it says, this is a listed building, or there's tree works going on and this is a protected tree. So straight away, it's making it easier for our enforcement team to triage some of those inquiries, which obviously no other system that I'm aware of can do. Well, no matter what the provider is out there, I think PlanX does something quite special there in terms of querying that data. And then we launched household planning applications last year through submissions through PlanX, without integration as of yet, but we'll talk a bit more about that in a moment, a bit later on. But we do use it to submit household applications. So you can go on our website and submit through PlanX, because we think there's a lot of validation benefits to our users beyond the planning portal, which is so good that we'd effectively we'd launch it without integration. So just a bit of a rundown. ODP Stack, a lot of you on this call will know lots about it. Some of you may not know too much about it. What is it? Well, effectively, most of you will be aware on the left-hand pipe, that's kind of your typical best of, right? That's pretty much everything we want as a planning service for us. Comes in through the planning portal, it goes into Uniform, Arcus, M3, insert other name, whichever one you're using, and then you've got some kind of public access feature where you're kind of consulting on your planning applications and whatnot. So what the ODP Stack is it's using PlanX to submit the application with all the bells and whistles and data that benefits that brings. It's then being assessed in the back office planning system, and then we are publishing all of our planning applications that go through that pipe through the digital planning register. So the way we approached it is that any application through PlanX, which of course we've already embedded within our normal processes, it was already online and people were using it anyway. Anyone that comes through that pipe is being assessed in BOPS as part of the pilot, which we're time recording, kind of differences between how long it's taken to validate, validation rates, and things like that, compared to our whatever our other perfect process would be, which is the planning portal to Uniform and public access. And the difference with the ODP Stack is it's using GovPay. and it's using GovNotify. Now, those are probably the two biggest niggly bits that people kind of we found to be tricky, and a lot of other users will have found as one of the challenges. But challenge, right, is opportunity. So that's how we kind of looked at it. And I'll give a bit of a perspective on how we managed to get our finance team and others to let us use GovPay and other things in a moment. But in any case, I'll just I think it's important to reflect on some of these projects and some of these products that we're involved in testing. BOPS is one of those that you've probably seen, but I'll just give you a quick insight into, I guess, just my perspective in it on it as a kind of team manager within development management. So this is our BOPS. This is an application that's currently under assessment and ready for review. One of the brilliant things that I think is great about BOPS is the way that you go through this staged process when you are actually assessing an application for sign-off. So it gives you all of the relevant information down the left-hand tab. It allows you to check all these constraints in a very logical, sequential way, which I'm not aware of another system that does that. And it allows you to do neat things like when you want to launch plans, you can just launch them as attachments and they just all launch, and you can compare them and all those kinds of things. And it does things like if you did want an amendment, you can just go to the specific point, you then send that to the officer, it appears in their environment, they can then tweak that and send it straight back to you, and it notifies you and that's been altered. So it's a very good process, and it's one of many great things we like about BOPS, and it's pushing us to and our awareness of what's possible. So when we think about other providers out there and our existing contracts, we also then have to reflect on whether there are other functionalities that we would want to see. And it's given us different perspectives as part of this project to push for better for ourselves. I'll just take you back into the slideshow. So yeah, that's kind of the ODP stack stuff. So what next and why? So we've been doing the householder submission. We're going to keep going with the stack and testing until the end of August 26, when we're going to kind of review that as we look at BOPS and looking at how that project develops in terms of how we then resource and commit our time to helping out support that project. We're kind of leading on the discussions with IDOCS about an integration between PlanX and IDOCS, and that would be built on the brand new M8COD data specification. So we're at the point of agreed scope with them on what that integration project would be, and excitingly, it is now a conversation about a production ready integration and not a test, not a proof of concept, which is something that was muted kind of 18 months, 2 years ago. So as that develops, we can give you more information on that over the summer, when we hope to have contract and things from IDOCS to help support delivery of that, and that's of course funded through ODP programs. But talk about other PlanX services. So Johnny did some great work for us at OSL. He built us a householder validation checklist tool, which we're currently testing, where it when you're going through applying for planning permission through PlanX, it knows the constraints that are on the site, and then of course it's then outputting what someone would require for a submission before they submit. So it knows they're in a conservation area. It's not asking them the question. It's smart. It knows it from the constraint checker, and it's then saying you need a heritage statement, or it knows you're in a flood risk area, you'll need a flood risk assessment. So that is something that we are in testing with Johnny, and he did some absolutely brilliant work for us. So big shout out to Johnny. And we've used it for other stuff. I mean, it's called PlanX, but we've used it for loads of stuff. We've used it for consultation on a big area action plan. We're using it for a new building control site assessment tool, which I'll just briefly show you so you can kind of see some of the things we're doing. Effectively, our head surveyor came to us and said, we've got building safety regulator coming in. We want to standardize how we do reporting on site for site assessment. And so Harvey and Lisa, who are on our digital team, created a completely tailored flow, which is a site inspection tool that our internal officers can use on site. The best thing about it is when we are at the moment trying to build a Power Automate link. So when there is an identified breach to building control or some kind of issue, the next stage is we're going to build an output so that it produces a letter to then send straight to the owner or whoever it is to point out any issue specifically where there is non-compliance with building regulations. So that's just another example of Plan X. It's called Plan X, but really it's just a flow builder, so you can use it for anything really. And that's something we're kind of developing over the summer. So how do we launch? I think this is something that Charlie asked us to kind of touch on briefly, and then maybe if there's any time for questions. But basically, we were really lucky at Gateshead. I'm sure a lot of you are and have quite driven senior management teams who are really focused and committed to innovation, and we've been very lucky at that. We've had a strong track record of that, and that's certainly helped us in terms of being able to get the right people in a room to make decisions to move forwards with some of these programs. But I think one of the biggest things that we've learned is it's really critical to bring the right people in to drive your project. We're very fortunate to have Lisa, who's from a project management background, who's come into the service to help coordinate a lot of these programs, as well as a data integrations officer who's helped support more from a technical level within service. So what that's meant is we've allowed us to build trust with our digital team and our IT team at the council, and therefore through that trust we've developed a consensus where they are quite comfortable with us testing and launching new services, understanding that we are going to go about things in the right way and document things correctly, and so really that's been a massive win for us, and a massive thing that the funding's allowed us to achieve. So yeah, can't downplay that. Bringing the right people in to drive your projects absolutely key, and it's been really game changing for ourselves. I think we've always pushed other services. We've always been one of the ones that are there to challenge our kind of IT services teams, digital service teams on some of the products. And GovPay was tricky to launch for a variety of reasons. A lot of people will come up with the same hurdles, whether it's the kind of net settlement figure, the way that GovPay takes off it gives you the net basically figure as opposed to the overall gross, and finance teams find that challenging. But again, we got buy-in from senior stakeholders within the finance team to be able to effectively test GovPay as a kind of a test for the authority and to see how they could use it for other things. So they were comfortable to let us use it for the ODP stack testing, and then of course it gives us the opportunity to use it for more things, which we will use it for. We already use it for the Plan X Plan X applications that we receive. And then overall, just a bit of my overall perspective in terms of involvement in ODP. So I'm a planner, I'm a development management planner. I'm a managed team leader of a householder team, and then involved in kind of these projects. But basically, we've never been informed better or better equipped to challenge our internal stakeholders and to drive digital innovation. So never before have we ever been in a better place to then say, no, that's not right. We want this. Why does it not do this? That's great, but we want more. We want this for this reason, and we feel like we're in a really good place to maximise our opportunities now. And obviously, looking at the Lura and the capabilities within it of local authorities being able to ask for their data in certain formats and things, that would have been something that was incredibly daunting to us, but the resource that ODP's allowed us to tap into means that is now an opportunity for us. So I think that overall, I would just say that we're very lucky, and we've had a team that have been relentless, really, in just effectively just driving change and making things happen and not taking no for an answer. And if we are presented with no's and blockers, finding the relevant ways in which we can communicate the benefits and to the right people to make sure that we are able to launch and test these services that we have been able to. So sorry, I know that's a bit of a whistle-stop run through, and I've talked a lot, but I hope that gives a bit of perspective on our involvement in BOPS, Plan X, and kind of how we've gone about doing it.
That's great, Andrew. Really, really good stuff. Thanks very much, everyone. So I'm just going to grab the screen and hopefully share my last slide. And this is where I read something really, really quickly. Here we go. So yes, user research request from our friends in PINS help shape the new section 62A digital planning services. The planning sector is currently reviewing the section 62A planning application representation and management process. A core focus of our research is reviewing how LPA interact with PINS when dealing with the section 62A cases. We want to ensure what we can build can actively reduce administration burdens on your busy teams. You do not need to have gone through Section 62A process before taking part. What's involved? A 45 to 60-minute remote session over Teams with a researcher. You'll be invited to look at an early interactive design prototype and give feedback on how well the flows into your existing local workflow. Who should take part? Planning officers, technical administration clerks, or anyone involved in compiling or passing data to PINS on planning. How to get involved? If you're a member of the team, can spare an hour to help us design a more efficient system. Please register your interest by completing this form. It should only take 2 minutes to register. I shall put a link to that form in the chat. But that should now take me on to the final slide, which is saying thank you very much, everyone, for coming to this show and tell general meeting. Next one is Monday, the 3rd of August. If you've got a story and you'd like to share it, come along and let us know. Great to see you all here today. Have a fantastic July. Hope some of you get some sleep. They're up all night. You're really great. Richard, is this you just excited? You wanted to ask a question? Or just say, can I go to the toilet now? I think he was just excited. Me too. Great work, everyone. See you all soon. Cheers. Bye, 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 bye.
See you later.
Hi, guys.